Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here, bring about conversations of a psychological, mental health, emotional health paradigm. We do that as often as we can, usually several times per week. We try to make that happen as much as possible here, and we continue to do whatever we can, wherever we can from that regard, regardless what to do if you think that someone loves you but they haven't told you. How can you know? Love is one of those really very simple things that people make quite complicated a lot of times. And if you need coaching on kind of understanding emotional transparency in that regard, which can be super valuable. So would love to be of assistance to you. Please feel free to reach out at PO Perception on Twitter and or in the About Me section of this YouTube page. Regardless, they're going to rush to you to tell you important things in their life. They're going to be completely transparent with you, and you're going to feel a certain level of emotional intimacy with this person. That's because they're going to prioritize your relationship with them over others. And so by putting you in a comfortable position, there's just a lot of value there. The next thing is their actions speak louder than their words, and they follow through on their promises. So their words and actions are congruent. I think that's the single in no matter where you are in a relationship, action and word congruency is the single most valuable indicator of level of interest and integrity in a relationship. When those two things are congruent, you can worry a little less, and sometimes even a lot less, about whether a person's intentions are pure or not. Um, they support your achievements and the things that you do just as much as they support their own. So there's a mutual investment when either of you succeeds. And so that mutual investment speaks to the level of the relationship they're trying to build with you. It also speaks to the level of investment they have in, um, you know, them and building a future. That level of future could be, planning to have children, planning to buy a house, planning to be inseparable, but they're thinking about the future, and you're in it on a consistent basis, and it's a consistent conversation, or at least a persistent conversation. So it may not be every interaction you have, but more often than not, you're talking about things with that in that way. They don't necessarily care how you look, or they don't care about your flaws. That doesn't mean they tolerate everything about you as though they don't have an opinion, but they're not judgmental. They're not in a place where they're constantly focused on whether you're doing things the right way or the wrong way. True love is as non judgmental as possible. And I think a lot of times, because we live in a very judgmental society, we live in a society that's more focused on control than compassion in a lot of ways. And so that is a sign that when someone's trying to control the narrative too much, they don't necessarily have the level of love that really matters or counts, and that becomes super valuable to identify when someone is tolerant of you, when someone is kind to you, when someone is consistent with their kindness and their toleration. There is a value to the love that they're showing you. And I think the other thing, too, is the absence of expectation is a big part of being a loving human being. That is to say, we can have preferences, but having preferences does not mean expectation. It doesn't mean necessarily that people are in a good space, and it doesn't necessarily mean that people are ultimately an idealized situation. And at the end of the day, we have to kind of see that sometimes people learn to love and express love, and have different love languages and ways they express love. Identifying the ways that people do make those expressions is also important. And when we do that, we begin to understand the value of building lasting, meaningful, and common and consistent relationships. Doing that can sometimes be challenging, especially if we have expectations that are unmet, or we're not necessarily vocalizing them in the best way. So hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.